This is a podcast from Severn Vineyard.
Normally when we celebrate our birthday, we look back over the last 16 years or like over the last year, but this year we decided to do something different. And what we've decided to do is to talk about what God is doing in each of our lives. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm in a little community group with two other guys, and every 2 weeks we get together on Zoom for an hour, and we ask ourselves the basic question, what's God been doing in each of our lives? And the simple regularity of asking that question every 2 weeks. And we give each other 10 minutes to talk about what God's been doing in each of our lives. And you can go as deeper as you like. And actually, each one of us ask questions of the person. And we ask the question, why? Why? What does that mean? What difference is that going to make to your life? And it's really cool to do that because we give ourselves effectively permission to do that. And so regularly we're saying to ourselves and to each other, what is God doing in my life? What is God doing in my life? And that may be a question you don't ask yourself very often. It may be that you just had a moment to do that when Claire led that examine prayer, where you were like, oh yeah, what is God doing in my life? Well, this morning we wanted to give you an opportunity to think that for yourselves. So as we sit here for the next 20 minutes together, I just want to invite you to ask the question of yourself, what is God doing in my life at the moment? And the reason we're going to ask you to do that is for 20 minutes is because for the next 20 minutes we're going to interview 5 people, and we're going to ask them that same question, what's God been doing in your life? And what is God doing in your life? And they've been so kind to come and join me and sit here and answer those questions, because I have to say, I'm used to standing here and telling you what God's doing in my life because I do it quite often. But for these guys, in a context like this, it's quite nerve-wracking to do that. So I want you to be really kind to them and really give them a big round of applause when they come and sit next to me. We're also Claire's done a pre-recorded video with Barbara as well, which you're going to see halfway through as well. So why don't we first of all get our guests? So that's Karen, Gordon, Noah, and Emily. Just come and sit with me here. Now, Severn is not a tennis club, it's not a squash club, not an athletics club, it's a church. And what makes the church unique is we are focused on Jesus, both, as I said last week, cognitively and emotionally. We are people who are just trying to connect with God and do that together on a routine and rhythmic basis. And so part of what that means to us is gathering together like this to share what God's been doing in each of our lives, because it just kind of inspires us, right? So that's what we're going to do this morning. Before we do that, we've asked a few people, and we asked you all actually, and a few people kindly recorded some videos about what God looks like in their lives in the mundane and the extraordinary during the week. So this is a quick video of a glimpse into the life of Severn, because what Severn is us. It's just us. It's not an institution. It's not some project, some kind of sort of fame academy or anything like that. It is simply just a group of people trying to live life together and live life in relationship with Jesus. And so this is a short video that Bern has put together for us. Thank you, Bern.
I suppose one of the weird things about our faith is that we believe in one God who is everywhere, every day, but at the same time, really special, extraordinary. It's hard to show that in a picture. I think the first Christians saw it in a person, Jesus, God, doing everyday things like eating and drinking, but also these extraordinary things like healing and loving in ways that no one had ever seen. But that was a long time ago. So how do people get to see that today? I think it's still all about Jesus, but his body, it's the church, it's us every day. Isn't that extraordinary? Every day.
Yeah. That was beautiful, Ben. What an amazing snapshot of everyday life where we walk with Jesus. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. So I'm just going to pass this microphone first of all to Karen, because Karen's going to go first, because Karen is actually working pastoring our kids this morning upstairs. So if you would like to get involved in pastoring kids in Vineyard Kids, then talk to Karen right afterwards. She'd love to talk to you about that. So she's going to be joining us for now, and then as soon as she's finished talking, she's going to go upstairs and carry on working with the kids. So Cass, is that microphone working for you?
Yes.
Fantastic. So what's God been doing in your life?
Great. I love that video. Thanks, Bern. And I think it actually does really sum up that sense of God being extraordinary in the ordinary. Because I feel like when I was preparing for this and just thinking about how do you sum up what God's... Like, I feel like I've been on this kind of pretty exciting journey with Jesus the last couple of years. And how do you sum that up in 5 minutes? And for me, there's been big moments in it where I know that I feel like I've met with God in special ways. But the reality is it is just played out every day. And I think... so it's been, for me, just about getting to know more about who God is. And that really has been the absolute joy of my journey. Psalm 37 is one that kind of came to mind a couple of years ago, which is take delight in God and he'll give you the desires of your heart. And I was just... wow, drama. There you go. That's the end. I was just up on kids, and one of the little girls, who is adorable, they're all adorable, by the way, but she said, my granny just can't help giving so much blessings. Oh. And it was so cute, but it was really that sense of her awe of how much blessings her granny just keeps pouring on her, and she just can't stop. And for me, I was like, oh yeah, that's like what I have experienced of God in the last 2 years, that the more time I spend with him, the more I want to spend with him, and then I just experience these so much blessings all the time. And but not in ways that we might think God might perform or do things, just in really personal, really kind of ways of God seeing us. So I think for me, one of the big things that I feel like God's been teaching me is about just how to spend time with him in my everyday life, how to be aware of his presence and how to be aware of who he is in each moment. So it all kind of started a couple of years ago for me when I was dropping my eldest daughter off at a different church. She went to their youth thing in the evening, and I ended up staying for the worship, which was like half an hour of just sung worship. But it's a big church, and I just kind of hid by myself in the back, and it became this really precious place of just my time with Jesus and my time to really think about, again, who God is for me and who he says I am. And that just kind of started a journey of me really being pulled into this sense of being in wonder and awe at just how amazing he is, and then wanting to worship and wanting to learn more. So the Bible's always something that I kind of have been through different stages with, but it created in me this sense of really wanting to understand a bit more about what the Bible says about who God is. And in our small group, we did a series on the character of God, and from Exodus 34, he goes through kind of God describes himself as faithful and loving, compassionate and gracious and slow to anger. And so we looked at each of those, but it just drew me into like this, wow, God is amazing. So I feel like the joy of discovering who God is has been kind of part of my journey. And part of that has been around making sure that I try and find time each day to seek God out and spend time with him. And we have a dog who's a little rascal. You may have met her. This week, she decided to eat the entire bolognese that was being cooked for small group straight out of the slow cooker whilst we were all out. Oh. So actually, sorry, she didn't eat the whole thing, but she did put her head in the boiling hot slow cooker and help herself to the bolognese that was being prepared for 15 people for dinner that night. So she's a little pickle, but every day I get the absolute joy of taking her for a walk. So I get to go out into nature, and I've basically made that time my intentional time with Jesus. So I get to... basically, I go into the park and I say, God, what do you want to say to me today? Or who are you today? Or let me worship you today. And I've just set aside that time each day. And I feel like God has shown me so many things. But one thing I really feel like he's shown me in that time is that he really sees me. And there's a tree in the park that has become my tree. I'm sure everybody's got a tree, but this is my tree. And I walk into the park and I very often just look at this tree, and it's been through different seasons through this last year, but I feel like God has really spoken to me a lot through this tree about him seeing me and who he says I am, and calling me to live into that. So, and then that has led me on this journey of just learning to trust him. And there's been a couple of things this last year where I've had like health things going on. And I've had to really learn to trust, is God who he says he is for me in that? And whichever way this test result goes, do I actually believe that God is enough? And do I actually believe that everything that I say about him or everything I've experienced of him is true and is real, and I want to live into that, and I want my life to be a life of worship no matter what my circumstances. So that's been a journey that I've been really learning as well.
And Karen, can I put in, how has it impacted you emotionally? How do you feel in yourself?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because it's also been a year of kind of grieving for me in a way, because my eldest daughter left home, and that's been really hard for me to kind of process, just the change of life stage. So I think I think I've cried a lot in this last year. I've cried at joy of knowing who God is and him coming through to show me who he is. And I've cried at this sense of grief and life-changing and things. Not this bad. I mean, I'm delighted I still have amazing children at home. But it's just a change. It's just a change, and it's a process. I think emotionally it's a roller coaster, but it throws me back onto the amazing person that God is. And
that gives you a sense of peace and comfort. Yeah. It's brilliant, isn't it? Brilliant.
And joy. I think joy in a way that I probably haven't experienced before.
Yeah, just tell us a little bit more about that. What does that look like for you?
Joy?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a funny one, isn't it? Because I think maybe other people see it in you more than you see it in yourself. Like, I feel like people have seen that in me.
What have they said to you?
Just, I don't know, just being happier and more joyful. And I feel it, for sure. But I guess when you know yourself and you also see what else goes on in you, you don't always see it in yourself. You're always kind of balancing it up. But I feel like, I think a lot of my last 2 years has been about making intentional choices to moving towards a place where I feel like I'm putting myself in a place where I feel encouraged, or I feel like I'm spending time in places or with people that I want to. And I think for me that's just brought me a lot of joy. And I mean, the joy of the Lord is your strength, right? Well, I don't know how else to sum that up. Well,
as one of your friends, we all see the joy that you have in your life, and it's been really exciting to see, and a bit nuts at times as well, to be honest with you. She's the life and soul of the party. Well, Kaz, thank you so much for sharing. Is there anything else you'd like to say? Would you give Karen a big round of applause? Thank you so much. Thank you, Karen. Thanks so much to Karen for going up and looking after the kids and pastoring them. I do the kids once a month with Karen usually, and we have a right time with our lives. Josh does it as well with the Hive. We have such a great time. So if you guys ever want to get involved with pastoring the kids like we do, you are so welcome. It's great. Talking of kids, this is one of mine.
Hello.
My favourite daughter. She is.
His only daughter.
She is my only daughter. Yeah. I can say that. I've got 2 sons as well. What's God been doing in your life, mate?
Lots
in spite of me.
In spite?
In spite of me.
In spite of you?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Well, I think Jesus has just been... Well, so I went to a Christian youth festival in the summer called DTI. And it was my fourth time going this year. And this year I really felt that Jesus was calling me to be like anchored in him and like rooting myself in him. And every year at DTI, they always talk about anchoring yourself in Jesus. And I'm always like, I'm going to do it, and I never do it. But this year, I feel like Jesus is like doing it with me instead of me trying to do it for Jesus. And I've really felt that Jesus is opening my eyes to all of these beautiful, simple things in life. And I've really started to just find loads of joy and peace in that. Like when I get up in the morning and the seagulls are really noisy, but they wake me up and I'm like, Jesus, he's in it. And I get on the bus and I smile at people on the bus and they smile back and I'm like, Jesus, this is great. And I've really started to just I have a long walk into college in the morning, about half an hour, and so I take it and I just pray to Jesus the whole time. In a chat, I ask him for like to give me strength and optimism for the day. And I try and go into my college with a lot of energy. I do musical theatre, so it's high impact days and I'm very tired. But I feel like Jesus really gives me the strength to bring some like joy and light into that. It was really nice because I was chatting to my friend the other day and they were saying how I'm quite like a bright presence at college and I bring lots of energy and light to people in the morning. And I was really comforted by that because like I know that that's Jesus' love working through me. And I just think that it was really nice because I get to show Jesus' love and light through every day just because he loves me. And I really felt like a push to share that with people at college at the moment and to just give his love and joy and light and peace that he gives us in like everyday activities, like letting people use the microwave before me so they can get to class on time. But I've really felt Jesus leading me into serving people at the moment, into giving my time and energy to show Jesus' love. So that's what's happening.
That's so cool, isn't it? And do you enjoy that? I mean, sometimes I imagine you don't always enjoy it, like when I ask you to stack the dishwasher or something like that, or it's not always fun, is it, to kind of give to other people? So, do you kind of find that joy is kind of like it's a kind of hard joy, it's kind of like tough joy? Is that kind of, or is it like just light and breezy?
I think it's tough joy until I take a second and I go, no, I've got to love first, and so then it's easy.
Right.
So the premise of it is like, oh, I have to do dishwasher again, but then I'm like, it's a way I can show love to others and then how I can serve others.
You are like that. You are like a bright shining star. You really are. You're amazing. You do bring so much light into our world, and those people who encounter you day to day, it's amazing.
A bit biased.
Yeah, I know. Well, I can say that. It's great, isn't it? I get to do that. I've got the microphone at the moment, so I can say it.
Very true.
But yeah, that's so cool. And like, just what strength do you get from Jesus? Does your faith give you strength?
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of the time when I'm going into college, I use college as an example, but on the bus, and I'm just so tired and I just want to be in my bed. But I'm like, no, Jesus, here's another day to live for you. I wake up every morning and I say to myself, dear Lord Jesus, thank you for the blood in my body and the air in my lungs, because I've got another day to live for him. Yeah. And I think that gives me strength, is just thanking Jesus just for the fact that I've got another day, and trusting in the fact that no matter what happens, Jesus is with me, and he's giving me life, and so that strengthens me.
So you don't feel lonely like that?
No, like I genuinely don't. I used to, but nowadays, if I feel a bit down or I feel a bit lost, I just get this urge of like, oh, it's okay, Jesus is with me. Yeah. That takes me to, so at DTI this year, on the first night, there was a talk about being yoked to Jesus, and they talked about how, like, with cattle, when two cattle are yoked together, they're like connected by the shoulders. And they were saying that Jesus, when he says he does life with us and he gets us through the hard times and he carries our burdens, he's like yoked to us like that. He's with us and he carries the weight, but not taking it all off of us, but does the journey with us. And that's given me a lot of strength. So when I'm having a bad day, I think, no, Jesus is like right here, tied to me.
Carrying the weight
with me and helping me through it. So yeah.
That's so cool, isn't it? Well, I love it. And as your dad, I'm really glad that you feel like that. Because we can't always do that for you, so I'm really glad that you feel like that. That's so cool. Yeah. So give Emily a big round of applause. We're actually going to hear a pre-recorded interview that Claire did with Barbara, so listen up to Barbara.
Hi, Barbara. So some people today won't know who you are. So can you just introduce yourself? Tell us who you are, what you do in the daytime, and how you got connected to Severn, and anything else.
So my name is Barbara Likulunga. I live in Bristol, originally from Zambia, lived in the UK for about 20 years. I came to know Severn about 2016. I joined Severn and then life got in the way. So it's not anything to do with Severn. It's just in terms I went on my own faith journey.
Yeah.
And then later on in 2022, I chose to get baptized, but I was living in Wales at the time. So I got baptized at the Severn in Cardiff.
Yes.
And then I moved from Wales back to Bristol, and then I joined Severn Vineyard. So ever since I moved back to Bristol, that was 2022. I've been, I suppose, involved in Severn in some way.
Cool. So, Barbara, so at Severn, we love to celebrate where we see God in everyone and everything, in the extraordinary and exciting things of life, and also in the mundane and everyday things of life. So, can you just share with us where you've seen God working in your life recently?
The past 5 years, I think since COVID, I've found quite challenging. And I think most people have, because I think COVID gave us pause for thought in a way. Downward moment in terms of my mental health and just in terms of my family. We've had 2 big bereavements in terms of losing my stepdad and also losing my elder brother. But through it all, like I said, like in 2022, I got baptized. I think the juncture for me at that moment was that I've always grown up a Christian, and I think I've always like known that God exists. But I think for me, that juncture was actually claiming my identity as a child of God. Right. It's not a magic pill to say, oh, everything's going to be perfect. But I think since then, more specifically, I found life easier to manage, and I don't feel so alone. And I think my relationship with God has changed in that I just don't see him as this distant figure in the, like, who I've always been told about, but he's somebody that I'm actively trying to get to know, and also walking with Jesus and trying, like you say, in the mundane, whether it's saying hi to my colleague or whether it's a day when I don't have energy and I just have to take the first step. I feel that it makes a difference when you know that Jesus is by your side in everything that you do, big or small.
How did the transition happen from being in that place where God to you felt distant to getting to this place where actually it feels different for you?
I think COVID made me realize that I was working on all aspects of me, but maybe I had neglected my mental health quite a bit. And it gave me, I think, time to reflect and also just look at myself from all angles. Right. And I realized that this I had a spiritual thirst that I think I had just neglected. So it's not just about mentally, how are you, physically, how are you, or even practically, how are you, whether you have a place to live. But I think all of us have got that spiritual thirst. And I think because I had that pause, it gave me a moment to actually think this is something I want to actively do. And getting baptized just made sense. At the moment, there's so many big things happening in the world. So sometimes when I get overwhelmed, I just go back to the basics. I just go down to the bare bones. Yes. And there's always 2 verses I go to. So that's love your God, love yourself, and love your neighbor. Yeah. And then the other one is the 1 Corinthians, where you say love is patient. And last year I was listening to Bible in a Year, and they suggested that with that verse, if you put your name before each of the descriptors, that gives you, I suppose, a verb or an active sheet of how to. So it's like saying, love is patient, Barbara is patient, Barbara is kind, Barbara is not self-seeking. So sometimes when I find myself in challenging moments, because I have quite a challenging job, I just go back and then put my name on all those things, because then it helps me hold on to God's love and use God's love to share that with others. I'm an employment lawyer, so I work in law. The last 3 months at work have been very challenging. Like, the business is being bought, and there's a lot of people who've left. The workload is really high. There's a lot of changes in the team. So it's been a very, very challenging time. And there was a time where I was the only senior person in the team. So it's been quite challenging. Yeah. But I had my last day in the office on Friday, and my team gave me a speech, and I realized that the word patience did come up. And one of my team members actually said to me and said, or sometimes I think you've got more patients than a hospital. And then one of my other colleagues said that sometimes we have a chat between ourselves and we wonder, how does she do it? We're ever so busy, but she listens to people and she does this. And it made me realize, going back to what we're talking about, it's not by my own doing, it's the grace of God. And even if I just passively say that Bible verse in my head, sometimes I find things challenging, it does come across. So it doesn't have to be this big thing to say, oh, you know, I change the world in this way. And there's nothing wrong with changing the world, but it can be a simple act as when your colleague wants you and you feel like you don't have that extra 5 minutes, just giving that patience. And that's a way I feel like in the mundane, we can share the love of God. One thing that can never be stripped from me is that I am a child of God. And I think that's what I think we need to hold on to as Christians, to say we are all children of God and we all share that image. And I think when you go back to that basic, it's such a powerful basic, because that identity can never be taken away.
Oh, love it. Love it.
Brilliant. Oh, that's great, isn't it? Thank you, Barbara, if you're watching, for sharing. That was awesome. She's on holiday in Spain. Oh, brilliant. I hope you're having a nice time. Can I take that one, Mel? Is that all right? Go on, let's come to you.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir. We are thrilled that you're just going to share something with us about what God's been doing in your life. Tell us more about it.
So Claire said, what's God been doing? And I found myself reflecting, because I've been a Christian 50 years this year.
No.
And it makes me smile, because you notice everybody else clutching a phone and I'm clutching a piece of paper. Because I predate all of this technology. Yeah? If I'd wanted this piece of paper 50 years ago, I would have had to type it on a typing machine. And we all go through phases of life, don't we? And it just made me think, and I don't know, I just tried to, what can I whittle it down to? And in some ways, I feel I've spent 50 years being a doer. Do you know that idea, people are sort of doers or beers, that sort of idea, you reflective or somebody that does stuff? I do stuff, and I've done tons of stuff. And I feel in some ways that I've just gone around fixing everybody else's problems, etc. Because church wants an elder, or they want a treasurer, or work wants this, or your family needs this, or your wife needs that, or whatever, your friends and things. And I'm just sort things out for people. So I've got to retirement, and I don't have a boss anymore. Well, sorry, forgive me here, apologies quickly. Obviously there's Rachel, my wife, but I don't have a sort of 37.5 an hour a week boss, and I'm doing this, and we've moved. I'm still a father, and I'm a grandfather, and I've retired, and we've moved to Bristol to work that out, but I've laid a lot of stuff down. So I found myself in Bristol sort of feeling some sense of, well, who is Gordon? When Gordon's not, I'm Gordon, so it's clear. When Gordon's not doing what everybody else wants Gordon to do, who is Gordon? What does Gordon actually want to do? Who is Gordon? And that's a little bit of a sort of pit to sink into in some ways. And it's not been the easiest 2 years, and I haven't been the most charming of husbands in that time or whatever, But two things over this last 2 years have helped me come to terms with that and get a better handle on it. One was that there was some stuff that happened in Harrow that I wasn't involved in. And because I get a lot of value for being involved and a lot of self-worth from being involved and things, I felt quite resentful that I hadn't got this space to work in and be sort of meaningful and useful. And I found myself in a bit of a desert place of resentment against God. And I came one day and I thought, well, if God actually is sovereign, maybe it's right that I was rejected in this space. And I started thinking about it. And painful though this desert experience has been, I realize it's forced me to face up to that sort of fact that I get a lot of my self-worth from what I do from everybody else, when I should get that self-worth from God's. We're all loved, aren't we, for who we are, not for what we do. And so the first thing is this desert has been really useful. It's really made me get to a deeper place, a nearer place to God. And I just to say to anybody, if you in any way feel that you're in a desert at the moment, can I just maybe encourage you to find half an hour later in the day and just say, what's good about this place? What's good? What underneath all of this is good about the fact I'm feeling resentful or annoyed or cross or whatever? Because when I stopped to face up to that desert, it's been a really healing place in my life. The other thing is that I've spent this 2 years since we retired being much more reflective, and we've been on a number of retreats. And we did that examine exercise this morning. I didn't really know what those were all about 2 years ago, but we've been, Rachel and I, on a sustainable faith course, and we've been over to the Breathe place. These are places recommended by this church and on the church's website, etc. And I've spent much more time being reflective. And the course started, funnily enough, the second session of the course started with thinking about our desires. Now, my Christian background says that desires and passions are basically wrong here. And at a superficial level, my desire for Netflix movies, red wine, dozing in bed, and doom scrolling are all not particularly positive desires. But we're all unique, aren't we? We're all built uniquely before God. There's something unique about us. I couldn't necessarily think of an example, but everybody would know David Beckham. If David Beckham hadn't played football, I think that would have been a loss to the world. It would have been a loss to David. If he'd never discovered he was good at football, I think that would have been a loss. You may support other teams and think it would have been a good idea, but for him, it would be bad. And I think God has created us all with some really unique features. And I think I've, in summary, spent a huge part of my life in, as I said, doing what other people wanted. I don't resent that. There was a lot of good stuff in that, a lot of good stuff. But this last year or so has helped me get a much better handle on who Gordon is and what's unique about me. And I found a lot of joy in that. Can I just read a scripture?
Please do, yeah.
You may never, ever have come across this scripture because it's very obscure. It's buried in the 39th chapter of Job. Job is a book buried well deep in the Old Testament. The 39th chapter is a long way through any book. I've got hundreds of books that I've never got to the 39th chapter of. And it's God. Job has had a difficult life, a very difficult life, and God's come along to try and help him understand it. And God starts to say to Job things about God that will help him deal with his difficulties. And God decides to talk about an ostrich. Anybody ever read this passage? Wow, well, fine then. Bit of the Bible coming up then. The wings of the ostrich flap joyfully, though they cannot compare with the wings and feathers of the stork. She lays her eggs on the ground and lets them warm in the sand, unmindful that a foot may crush them, that some wild animal may trample them. She treats her young harshly as if they were not hers. She cares not that her labor was in vain. For God did not endow her with wisdom or give her a share of good sense. Yet when she spreads her feathers to run, she laughs at horse and rider. Over 100 meters, an ostrich will beat a horse and rider. So if you're having a race, you want to put some money on the ostrich, you're onto a good thing. So what does this passage tell us? This passage tells us that the ostrich can't fly. It's a bird that can't fly. What a start is that? It's uncaring parent and it lacks wisdom. But despite that, God decides to boast about the ostrich that he's made to Job to help Job understand God's wisdom. And God boasts about it because the ostrich can do one great thing. It's lousy at nearly everything else, but it can run. And I think, in summary, what I'm trying to say is that we're also aware of the things we're not good at, but there's stuff in all our lives that God boasts about. And if you're not sure what that is, if you've been in any way like me, just a bit too busy to find out, then I just encourage some of this reflection, some of spending time with God, some of the exercises of that sort of thing. Because there's something that God boasts about all of us. There's something in all of you that God is boasting about. and it would be a pity if you didn't know what it was.
And Gordon, are you in the process of working out what God's told you is unique about you, or is that something you have discovered but you might feel awkward about saying? Or?
It's probably this. Yes, I'm working on it.
Oh, yeah. And do you have a sense?
Well, I've spent a lot of my life being very sort of mechanical, etc. And there's a bit of me that wants to be a bit of an artist, bizarrely, which is an entirely new aspect of my entire life. And I set about at the beginning of the year saying I would try and produce a bit of art that I could sell, because the family is always going to say it's nice, isn't it? If somebody's going to cough up some dosh, then it might mean something.
Yeah.
But I find myself a bit wobbly even in talking.
Sharing that, yeah, I hear you. Yeah. Well, come back and tell us about it when it happens. That's fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing, guys. Give them a big round of applause. Thank you. Noah, I always joke that Noah's my godson, even though his parents never asked me to be his godfather. But anyway, nevertheless, I love him dearly. Noah, actually, Noah, we were just discussing earlier on, you're younger than this church, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, so we moved to Bristol before you were even a twinkle in your daddy's eye. And now you're here, 16, going on 21.
15.
15, yeah. Trying to big you up, mate. Anyway, sorry. Anyway, no, what's God been doing in your life?
It's been really cool because since the summer I went to loads of youth camps with Millie and it was really cool. Those are amazing for my faith. It really strengthened it. But the entire time I was praying that, like, in normal day life he would really show me joy and peace and this energy to share with others around me. And that's been really cool because recently in my school and in my social groups, I've seen that come through. I've seen Jesus give me energy in my everyday life. And I mean, at the moment, all my friends are so tired because I got exams and everything. And it's been, it's really shown God's love through me and his joy, which has been really cool. I've gotten a lot of comments about it, which I've just been like, they've been like, oh, yeah, no, you've got so much energy. Like, how? I'm like, that's God. But, it's been great.
That's so cool. And how has that made you feel? Are you happier because of it?
Yeah, I mean, I enjoy so much better, life so much better than trying to sleep all the time.
Yeah.
I I get to fully enjoy his creation and I see it with like a whole other perspective. It's really cool.
So cool. That's so cool. And there's been a Bible verse that's been really important to you as well, hasn't there?
Yeah, Matthew 11:28 talks about come to me, you who are weary and burdened, and I shall give you rest. And I've been praying that so much recently, and it's helped so much. I mean, it's helped give me energy and give me faith through like all the times that I do want to sleep. And just even praying it on my way to school, and it just really affects my everyday life. And I've seen that come through in everything I do.
Yeah, and all of us that know you well have seen that real difference as well. It's been fantastic, hasn't it? And that kind of like that trigger for that was at DTI, wasn't it? Is that right? On one or two of the youth camps that you were on, is that correct?
Yeah. So when I was at DTI, I was like, well, I want to bring through this joy, like, because the summer camps are like the highlight of my year. So I'm like, oh, great! Like this is literally just time to worship God. Like everyone's out in the summer and it's so happy. It's just pure joy.
Yeah.
But I want to bring that to like my school and bring that back. And I just want to like have that kind of like radiate off me, just the joy and energy, so that people around me can feel that. So throughout DTI, throughout DCYC, I just really prayed that, and it's been, it's
fantastic. So
it
sounds like what you're saying is there's some of the highs of the summer, you've just carried them through into term time and stuff. Is that right?
Yeah, because like often you get to the holidays and you're like, oh, I'm like, this is amazing. Like I could live like this normally, and then you go back to everyday life, and it's, oh, okay, well, normal routine can't really. I just stay on the same energy level all the time. But yeah, it's been cool to
But you've been able
have
to
that
see
change.
That's so good, man. I'm really loving that with your life. It's so good to see. Give Noah a massive round of applause, won't you?
Happy birthday, Severn. It's time to raise a cheer. 16 years in Bristol. We're so glad that you're here. Happy birthday, Severn.
Hello.
It's hard to believe it's true. 16 years in Bristol. Loving God, loving neighbors, loving you. In a stadium, in the smallest room they had. Owen and Claire, they planted here. People thought that they were mad. We popped up in different venues to bring more people along. We've made new friendships, they've never ended, even when we've had to move on. We faced battles, we faced COVID, they couldn't break us apart. We faced the cost of living crisis with God's love in our hearts. We believe that He lives in us every step along our way, and we find Him round each corner. God's amazing us today. Happy birthday, Severn. It's time to raise a cheer. 16 years in Bristol. We're so glad that you're here. Happy birthday, Severn. It's hard to believe it's true. 16 years in Bristol. Loving God, loving neighbors, loving you. It's emotional, it's spiritual when we grow in God together, in community, in our city. God loves us all forever. It's emotional, it's spiritual when we grow in God together, in community, in our city. God loves us all forever. Happy birthday, Severn. It's time to raise a cheer. 16 years in Bristol. We're so glad that you're here. Happy birthday, Severn. It's hard to believe it's true. 16 years in Bristol. Loving God, loving neighbors, loving you.
Thank you, God, for being the most incredible, out of this world God that we could ever imagine. Thank you for the life that you give to us. Thank you for calling each of us your own and for bringing us into this family. We thank you, God. Amen.